Okay, people can hear me, but not Kendra, not Cody, correct? Okay, let's keep working on this. I'll just mime it. I'll mime everything. Okay, this is totally. I'll just mime it. I'll mime everything. Okay, this is totally. I'll just mime it. I'll mime everything. Okay, this is totally.
Can people hear us now?
I hear static. Try talking.
They can hear us.
Great. I hear static.
Hooray!
All right,
oh
let's
my
get
gosh.
started.
Only
So,
20 minutes in.
yeah,
We nailed
no,
this.
yeah, that was you know what? It's I hear, but there's an echo. Can you mute John? That was you know what? It's I hear, but there's an echo. Can
Thanks,
you mute
John. We appreciate you.
If John's muted, can you still?
We appreciate you.
If John's muted, can you still? Now it just says mute me, mute me, mute me. Now it just says mute me, mute
So,
me.
do you still hear the echo? So, it still says it's replaying audio? Okay.
I think that's probably John. If John's muted now.
Okay.
I think that's probably John. If John's muted now.
So, John, if you have any of the live streams up in your browsers and they are playing, then other people can probably also hear them.
Okay. Is the echo gone now, everybody?
The frames look good.
Yes, echo's gone. Great, thank you. Let's get started now. Hello, everybody.
Oh my gosh,
Welcome.
we made it.
Welcome to the Community Stand-Up.
I'm Kendra Havens, the painfully, the painful PM. I don't know, there's things like this.
And I am Cody, Visual Studio from MacPM. This is actually a good intro to our topic, which is how we are dealing with the coronavirus response at Microsoft and how we are all adjusting to life outside the office.
Yes. And we do want to call out that obviously there's way bigger concerns that are going on right now. It's a very serious issue and everything. But we're going to use a little time to just talk about how it might be impacting our engineering systems and some of the things that people like in the community are doing to respond, which is interesting. I guess I can share my screen.
Yeah. I think that it's also an interesting perspective because like John and I, John can't talk, he's banned from talking, but John and I both work remotely full time, and Kendra generally doesn't. So it's interesting to see the different responses to this situation and how workers all over the world are having to respond to it.
Yeah. So I'm definitely getting used to everything. Obviously, my laptop is underpowered for OBS Studio to run a live stream. Other than that, I think everyone is kind of experiencing less human contact because we all are trying to stay in and not go out. Most of like restaurants, gyms, theaters, stuff like that are closed in most of Washington and California and a lot of states all over the U.S. And so as well as Microsoft Offices is closed. Has it been 2 weeks?
It's been 2 weeks now, yeah.
Wow. And I think they will remain closed until April-ish now, April 6th or 7th. And that's been interesting. So we're definitely testing like the bandwidth that Teams can possibly take.
My camera's weird too. Oh, my camera's
Sorry, I was distracted to see if things were happening with the stream. Anyway, but one of the cool things that is coming out of this was a teenager in Seattle made this live data site for its NCUB 2019.live. and it's tracking the coronavirus outbreaks across the world and that kind of stuff. And he did use it. It was a teenager who programmed it, and it is one of the most reliable sources that I've found for reporting like how we're doing, which has been really interesting. So just kind of showing how technology can respond in a crisis is pretty cool.
And it's great to see that people, like that was built, relatively quickly, and it's something that, everybody can play a role in helping with this crisis. We're not doctors, I'm not a healthcare professional, but people all over the world can play a different role in this, and this person played the role of creating this nice dashboard. And it's a good source of reliable information, which is constantly something that we have to battle with in these types of situations is, what is reliable information and what is not. And anytime we can have a source like this where there is nice, clear, reliable information is greatly helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way you organize the data and stuff. I think a lot of other sites were like quickly built to kind of mimic this one, which is also really cool to see.
Yeah.
I think Bing has like a landing page that's actually very similar now.
It does, yeah.
It's pretty cool. So speaking of which, so right now is actually the MVP Summit, the Microsoft Valued Professional Summit, where we usually fly in about 2,000 of our closest friends in the industry who go out and like promote our tools. And we're bummed to kind of miss out on meeting everybody face to face this year, but there has been a really exciting response in creating sort of a virtual event from scratch with only like I think a week or so warning. So we've been like live streaming a lot of events. I think Teams calls are capped at like 250 participants, and we've reached that multiple times. They've actually made it difficult for you to join the MVP Summit calls as like an FTE, which is sad. So the Microsoft people can't join, and we want to leave space for the MVPs to actually get it, and we can watch later when they're being recorded. So it's maybe a bit of a delayed sort of exchange of information and commentary than what we're used to. But it's been quite interesting.
I think it's also good because you get like a live around the world style situation where folks can join in. John hosted several talks on VS for Mac that I joined as well, and it was super, like, how do I say this? It was very reassuring to talk to folks around the world and share something that is somewhat positive news in what we're working on. And I think it was a good experience to show how quickly we can respond with technology. And a major situation like the MVP Summit is just okay, fine, we'll pivot to this. I think that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Do you want to do? Yeah. So
yeah. Oh, sorry.
No.
So I did want to call out that Build is actually now declared as a virtual event. This is huge for us because Build is one of the biggest developer conferences that we have throughout the year. It's basically Build and Ignite. Ignite's a little bit bigger, but it's also a DevOps conference. So Build is usually the event that we get a ton of feedback, and I get to stand at a booth and talk to like hundreds of people, which is really interesting. Or we get to demo things and seeing how the crowd reacts to which stuff and which things people are excited about is actually incredibly good feedback usually, because I usually have a list of like 20 things in the release notes, and knowing which ones are going to provide the most value is really interesting, because we really can't tell all of this stuff from, I don't know, like internal telemetry or even surveys and stuff, what's going to land and what people are excited about and what makes them want to keep, I don't know, using Visual Studio and .NET and staying in our ecosystem.
And I think it speaks to that zero distance philosophy that we have. Maybe not the best terminology in the COVID time, but the zero distance between us and customers to really understand how they're using the technology. And I learn every single day by talking to people, like they use it in ways that I wouldn't think of, where they launched they launched the IDE differently than I would have thought of, and it goes from the basics like that all the way up to what you're talking about, which is, are these features even being used? We spent a year and a half developing this feature, and is anybody using it? And being able to talk to people and get more than just the yes or no. Like, we can tell if they're using it or not, but why are they using it? Why are they not using it? Did they not discover it? That kind of stuff you can only learn from really talking to somebody. And that's a huge value that we get out of these events. So I hope that we can recreate that osmosis in this virtual event, and I'm sure we will. But it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. I'm really, oh shoot, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, and it's really interesting to know like if they just used it once and then like and it didn't have a big impact, or the one time that they used it, they were like, whoa, this changes everything. Like code coverage is what comes to mind for me. I can kind of tell that it's used pretty regularly by a smaller segment of people, but I don't know like how big it is to impacting their business, or how like their management sees it, or where they report it and everything. So we don't always know like how much like what we need to do. Like we'd like to invest in like taking it cross-platform, because right now the inbox stuff is Windows only, and we have a great tool like Coverlet that is cross-platform and open source and free and everything, and we don't know like how much should we integrate that into Visual Studio? Should we always add that to community? And those kind of questions, I don't have like customer evidence to like get it going to actually put it in the product to get enough developers interested and costed and everything to put it in. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have this whole refund policy if you've signed up, and you can get more details there. But Cody and I are just talking about how it affects us, I guess. Let's see.
Well, let's look at this in the questions. Is Build going to be open to all? I don't know that yet. I think that that's still being decided and worked on. I think that, I'm sure there'll be an announcement on that page when it's available. I think that this is all kind of fast moving. So all those types of technological challenges are being worked on and stuff as well.
Yeah. In the past, there was a lot of the Ignite videos are posted online, and people can just watch them even if they didn't go to the event, and they don't even have to like log in. I know, because I was able to share my videos with my mom.
Oh.
She could watch me demo things.
It's always the fun part. Yeah. Watch this on half your YouTube views, or your mom just like, no, you're playing.
Probably. Definitely. She's only 5,000 of my Twitter followers. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them were accessible. It'd be really cool if it was like .NET Conf and it was completely open for everyone. It'd be interesting. I don't know.
Do you want to look at some demos?
Conf
it's
got way more views.
.NET Conf is great. That was a fun time.
And it has way further reach than in-person events, at least going by views online.
Let's take a look at some blogs or Reddit.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. All right. So, two things. I just posted this blog post, and it comes up. It is Visual Studio for Mac becoming a productivity pro. So, one of the things that I think Kendra can second this as well, that we're always trying to do with IDEs is make you more productive. If a feature doesn't make you more productive, then what's the point of that feature in some senses, because it's a productivity tool. So I've listed 3 of my favorite ways of making VS for Mac a little bit more productive for everybody. The first is adding custom tools. So you can actually add a link to a tool in Visual Studio for Mac to launch any application or any CLI command just with either hotkey or through the menu. So I demonstrated using Azure Data Studio, which is a tool that I absolutely love for accessing database resources on a Mac. So here I just had a quick Command A or Option A screen or a hotkey, and it pops it up and you can access it quickly. The second is multi-caret editing. It is, once you use it, it's an amazing tool. I think I've probably droned on about it quite a bit on this call before, so we don't have to spend too much time on that. The other is show import items. This is the ability to see imports that you have not added to your class yet, and that is a great way to quickly iterate on your file and to find usings that you didn't know you needed. And finally, the new NuGet package manager.
Don't let NuGets manage you.
Yes, don't. The NuGet package manager allows you to quickly add NuGets to specific project within the solution and update and remove it. It's very similar to the one on Windows if you use that, which is relatively new to the Mac world. So I wanted to point that out. And finally, that's it for that. I think that if we hop on over to here, we have a quick refresh of the VS for Mac refresh event. A quick refresh. Let's quick rehash of the refresh. Basically, John, Amanda, Scott Hunter, a ton of people, including Kendra, hosted this day-long event of what you can do in Visual Studio for Mac. And I recommend, if you weren't able to join the event, I recommend checking out this blog post because it has links to all the different videos and a quick rundown of what we can do. You can see James right there is quite excited. I don't know. He's a little too excited, maybe. No, he's pretty excited about that. So there's some good stuff there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Kendra,
Hold on. The most helpful thing from this is the PDFs down at the bottom of the Mac keyboard shortcuts. I was really excited about. Yeah, right below it, VSM-keys.
Oh, yeah.
So it's super cool that this is a PDF because people have really liked like a point-in-time thing because our docs can kind of be incrementally updated. So they don't know if they're like a couple versions behind or something like that, which ones they might be using. So they've asked us a few times to like generate these PDFs. So we actually don't have one for Visual Studio for Windows. So that's why I know how much people like these. So I just wanted to call out that we have one for Mac.
John also had if I scroll up to the top, where is it? There's a coffee mug somewhere. I don't know where it is, but there is and this might look familiar to you, Kendra. In fact, it's on your GitHub. So also we have that. I don't know, do you want to talk about the 16.5 release?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool.
So we did have a major GA release. It's 16.5 is now GA. With 16.5's release, we also always release like 16.6 preview 1 as it goes out. So there's like a continuous preview channel along with 16.5 going GA. Lots of cool, I know about the .NET productivity stuff in it. Lots of cool things in 16.5, converting if statements to switch statements or switch expressions, which is really nice. It's a really easy way to like simplify a lot of your code, get rid of all of those extra curly braces and kind of make it more compact, less white space. IntelliSense, we shipped showing items for unimported namespaces or unimported types. So if you don't have a using statement at the top of your file, the types within that namespace are still going to show up in IntelliSense, which is really cool. So it scans through all of the types in any of your dependencies on your project. So even if you're missing a using statement, you'll still get completion. I've demoed that a couple times in here. So simplifying string interpolation is pretty cool. It's just we added, I think, some.
I mean, the first time that sentence has ever been uttered. Simplifying string interpolation is very cool.
Yeah. So we've added a few ways over the years to basically slice and dice your strings, and we know things that people have used the most that are less verbose and make it a bit easier to read, we think. And so we now have actual suggestions. That's just like a refactoring sort of lightweight sort of suggestion. It's not like an error or anything like that. Yeah, extracting local function, make members static. Yeah, there's some really good debugging updates. Oh, scroll down to the testing section. I'm excited about that part. Oh, wait, did I not put it in here? Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, good. Whew. So we now have profiling for .NET Core tests, which was a big ask. And we also have really huge performance improvements in general in this release. You can see more about it in the actual release notes outside of the blog post. But so we'd love for people to do their own benchmarks, but we believe test discovery memory reduction has been reduced to when we load Roslyn and we discover the 100,000 something odd tests now. We are seeing we're using 60% of the memory that we used to use.
Nice. In
test discovery, which we're freaking excited about.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, that's just the Roslyn solution. Definitely get your own benchmarks for that.
Yeah, and if you, I think you link to the release notes down here too. So if you want to get some of this more detailed information, you can hop on over to these release notes.
There you go.
Check it out.
You can also read about everything we crammed into 16.6 preview 1. Should have some cool things.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Does everybody want a demo?
I'd love a demo. Do you have a demo?
I did.
Did you trust that build you just installed? As I
No.
was fighting with OBS, we don't trust
No,
it, but we're going to demo.
I had to drop back one build. So, but
Oh,
this is actually a preview of what we have coming out in 16.6, which is going to be in the preview channel next week, I believe. But what you see here is an integrated terminal into Visual Studio for Mac. This is one of those things that, you know, on the surface might sound like, oh, it's an obvious idea, but it's something that's really quite game-changing in the way that you interact with the program. So, you know, mostly for Mac OS developers, the terminal is core to the development process. You use it to clone repositories, you use it to deploy to Azure, you use it to, you know, look at output of an application, you use it to manage your files. It's kind of a core experience there. And so having it within the IDE really helps keep that experience integrated, hence the IDE term, integrated into your development experience. So, for example, I have this basic Android app right here, or My Tasks app. So I'm going to build it, and it's going to give me a build error on purpose. So let's wait for it to do that. There you go, build error. Great. Now I'm going to say mock data store. Okay. And I'm going to open that file, and it's going to say that, oh, I don't have a definition for people. Once it loads up, where did the error go? Right here. So I'm going to use our quick fix to fix that. I'm going to say generate property for item.people. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to try to build it again, and it's going to build successfully. And now, since I fixed this little bug that was causing me all sorts of grief, once the build is done, I'm going to see my working directory. All right, I'm in it. I'm going to git commit. Oop, I can't type live -a. I'm going to say fixed the people bug. I'm going to say escape. I'm going to say WQ,
wow.
exclamation point, because VI. There it goes. And I'm going to hit git push. And do I know my password? Well, let's assume that my password was there. It would push up. And so yeah, these are the type of things you can do within the IDE. It also has colorization, so I'm going to do git status. Where is it? See, we have some nice colorized information here, so you get like a full terminal experience. So it's a pretty good way to quickly interact with the applications. It's going to be integrated more and more as we go on. For example, for .NET Core applications, if you are looking for output for a web service, a web API service, and instead of hopping out to another terminal and taking the focus away from your application, it'll deploy it to the terminal that's within the IDE. So you can quickly watch your feedback from there. So it makes that inner dev loop a lot faster for that type of development process as well. So that is what we are excited for. Well, we're excited for a lot of things, but that is the one thing that I'm excited for right now in 8.6, which will be again in the preview channel hopefully next week. And we will be blogging about it when it is there. And I hope everybody enjoys it and gives it a go. Cool, that's my demo. That's all I have for today, demo-wise.
Looks good. So I was just trying to read through the chat, see if we were getting any questions. We did want this to be a pretty Q&A session, so if you have anything you want to get into, we're at your disposal, I could say.
Yeah.
Unless we don't want to do that thing.
Woo, John Galloway says Woo W00T. I don't know how to pronounce that, John.
Oh, sorry. When is the terminal getting into Visual Studio for Mac?
That will be 8.6. So that's it should be in preview early next week and stable. It will be aligned with 16.6 of VS Windows.
Okay.
So
sweet.
still a little bit off, but you can do the preview in a few, right away. And I do recommend checking out that preview because as much feedback as we can get on this, the better, so that we can make sure that it's a really solid experience by the time it goes to stable. And it's also a full terminal, so you can use Bash if you prefer Bash over ZSH. You can launch the PowerShell terminal if you want to use PowerShell. Anything that you can do in terminal.app on a Mac, you can do within the integrated terminal. So that's great. How should I share feedback about the preview? Says J Miller Dev. I think he might work for us, but I'm not sure. Wink, wink.
I feel like that was a
John Miller. You can share previews by contacting me on Teams. No, you can either tweet us at Visual Studio Mac. Yeah, at Visual Studio Mac. You can do the help provide suggestion or provide feedback button. But tweeting us at Visual Studio Mac is a great way to do it. And developer community, as Kendra posted there as well. Is there any way for me to use VS Code for Xamarin Forms development? In theory, yes. I don't know if there's anything that's going to be like officialized about it, but stay tuned for news from the Xamarin team there. I don't know what, if that's going to be like officially supported or not, but
I believe if you want a UI designer, you're still going to be out of luck. But if you just want to code, you can always use VS Code.
There's definitely a lot of advantages to within the IDE, especially things like hot reload today, that allow you to quickly see changes to your app. And we're also working on hot refresh for VS for Mac, which is going to allow you to make not just design changes, but C# changes as well, and continually release that to your device. So there's some advantages to working within the IDE with some of those tools that you get with it. So there. No GitHub issue submissions, not as of yet.
Well, we triage to GitHub.
Yeah, and we
from
triage
developer community. So we have like hundreds of repositories. Even within .NET, we have like the runtime, and we have framework, and we have Roslyn, which is specifically like the tooling that goes into the compiler. So it's more likely than not, if you file on GitHub, it might not be the correct product team that's going to get it, and we don't want to bounce people around too much. So we can try to avoid that with developer community, and people like Cody and I will triage suggestions, and our dev leads will triage bugs. Yeah. I don't know. I like talking about the process. Yeah. We did get a question higher up that was sort of, how can I use the NuGet updater and not have it offer breaking .NET Core 3.0 updates because they're not ready to move to 3.0? Yes. I don't believe you can silence them. I know that NuGet has a stable channel, but I think is 3.1 gone stable yet?
I think so, yeah. 3.1 stable.
I think it is the stable LTS .NET Core release, but I don't want to guarantee that.
And while looking up, we have a question from Vivig Online. What theme in VS Code do you use? I use the light theme. I know that in my blog post I just showed I had dark theme, but that's because it presents better on a white background, and I like the contrast there. It makes it easier to read for people who are reading the blog, but day-to-day work, I use light theme all around. I don't know why. It's always been that way. I like the default blue theme on Visual Studio Windows too. I don't know, that blue is very calming. Yeah. I've always been a fan of that.
I try to use dark, but okay. .NET Core 3.1 is LTS, and you can find that out. I'll also chat the link.
Nice. How are your issues going? What's the time I look? So, Chief Clone Dog. There's always somebody assigned to triage. I can speak to the VS for Mac team, and Kendra can speak for the Visual Studio team. There's always somebody on the team assigned to triage, both an engineer and a PM. And we look through those, and we try to keep up with them as much as possible. A lot of times, when things are under review or under investigation, we're also looking for additional feedback from the community. We get a ton of feature requests and a ton of feedback issue reports daily. And if they just stay at one vote, then we don't know how to really prioritize that against the other issues. So a lot of times when they're under review, that means we're researching the breadth of the issue, the scope of the impact. And so anytime that you can add context to it or add votes to it, that helps us prioritize it better.
Yeah, especially with your scenario, because it might be that whatever is being requested is not a good default option for most people. Or we just have a hypothesis that it's not the best default behavior. So votes and scenarios can convince us otherwise, or convince us that we need to add an option. And
default, that's a very interesting point you brought up, because default is such a hornet's nest. Because the moment you change something that was one way to another way, you're going to really mess up a lot of people who are used to it that way. So we don't take any changes to default behavior lightly. To change something that's default, it has to be above a bar of just like, it's a good idea. Because when you mess with everybody's workflow, if people are used to, this key command doing this thing, or like we're working on sort and join lines right now. And so if we change the way the lines sort, that might seem like a small change, like, oh, this is the right way to sort lines. But if people have been working the past 10 years with the sort working the other way, that is like mind-blowing to people. And so we really take those types of changes very, very seriously.
Yeah. And you got to think about whether or not you think you will actually take a bet that like the millions of people who are using this are going to do it the exact same way you are. And sometimes that's just not going to be the case. But then sometimes there's amazing suggestions that only get a few upvotes. And once we do implement them because they had very good scenarios, a ton of people end up complimenting the feature and loving it. I think like double clicking to open your .cs project, and when you double click on your project, it now opens your project file in .NET. That was one of the big ones. People love it.
Yeah, no, we're working on that one on VS for Mac too, and I think that's also why we do look at like every issue. We don't just only look at the high vote ones, because sometimes there are some great ideas down there that either just through signal versus noise, they don't get noticed and voted that quickly or something. So we do keep an eye on there.
Yeah, I like just reading through issues, just to like know the area of what people are thinking about, because it helps us kind of understand what direction the customer's going with that or what the user is thinking. Even if it helps you get really familiar with your new area space if you're like onboarding to a new product. Just reading through the thousands of issues, just spend a couple of days, get some tea, go through it. It's fun.
Yartsy, are there any tricks to improve VS performance after working on code? Are you talking about Visual Studio for Windows or Visual Studio for Mac, or both, or neither? I believe my stage is intelligence trying to update itself on working. This is actually that's an interesting topic. IntelliSense and typing and the synchronicity of those is it's in the, I think we've been working on quite a bit. Kendra, I don't know if you can speak more to the synchronicity of those two.
Yeah, we do actually. We did design sort of like a, what did we call it? I think it was like a power save mode. I'm trying to remember what the name was for it. I'm also trying to remember if we shipped it or if we're just flighting it internally right now. I'm launching Visual Studio to see if I can share my screen. The power save mode was supposed to be able to turn off like any kind of completion or IntelliSense calculation while you were typing, because we know in some solutions they're so big that or some kind of bad calculation is happening that it can greatly slow down typing speed. I'm trying to remember where we ended on that. I believe on GitHub it was called like the power save mode issue, and it got a lot of upvotes. Visual Studio is updating. We can talk about other stuff while I click around.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely update that too in the chat when we get to it.
Or it's loading. The installer's updating.
Chief is also saying that I mean that's part of the problems with is
I really dislike developer communities search right now that is open to the public. It's very bad. I have the advantage of being able to go on the back end of Azure DevOps and just write a query and like sort by date and number of votes and that kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm so sad that it's not exactly like GitHub, because GitHub is a lot easier to navigate as a user trying to find like high impact issues and what is top of the mind for the developers in that repo, because the developer community is a little bit not transparent at all.
And we sort by new as well. So I mean, we try to make sure we see everything that comes in.
On developer community on the web app.
Yeah, well, I mean, we might use the backend, but
when you search for like a single term, it almost feels like random. Maybe it is sorting by like last activity date.
Oh, the search is the search I can. I know that I think there's talk about improving that as well. So hopefully, I mean,
but I do want to know. I want everyone to know that I feel the pain so much because I own the testing experience, and if you go on DevCom and search test, there's so many issues that are like just testing out DevCom or testing out creating an issue, and like it's so much noise.
Yeah, and DevCom is being worked on. I mean, I don't want to speak for the team because I don't know the exact plans, but I know there is an initiative to improve the user experience there.
Actually, if any of you are huge Mads Christensen fans, I heard he's recently working more on
Yes.
DevCon, so I now have kind of high expectations of what the experience is going to be. Mads Christensen is one of the biggest extension developers for Visual Studio. You probably have one of his extensions installed right now.
Or one of his extensions became a mainline product feature, one or the other. Like,
probably multiple.
Yeah. Yeah, he's touched your life. John Galloway knows.
He's probably, oh yeah, that's true.
Is anything you do? So the new themes and things. Yeah, a lot of new themes. I realized when I'm watching the stream that I keep touching my nose. I'm a really bad PSA right now. I'm like, I gotta sit on my fingers. I don't know why.
You gotta be a role model.
Only one install, no way enough. Oh, there are a few. I don't know what we're talking about there. Let me check a few more questions. Maybe a few more minutes.
I'm watching Visual Studio to see if we with the power save mode, or might have been like distraction. I can't remember.
.NET Foundation being on Discord is one thing I really want to happen in #2020. That's a lot of things that we need to have happen in #2020.
We have a few Discord channels for like C#, I believe. A lot of chat happens there, if that's the community you want to plug into.
So I think got a few more minutes. If there's any other questions out there, I'd love to about anything. It can be about Visual Studio, it can be about Microsoft, it can be about technology, it can be about the world, it can be philosophical.
It can be about how Cody finds such amazing shirts.
Yes. Nordstrom.
There you go, internet. Maybe my computer is moving really slowly. Maybe I could just find the power save mode issue on GitHub and you can follow down that resolution to figure out. OBS just, I don't know, slayed my memory. I don't know. Not really.
Where can maybe I can search too. I like distraction-free mode.
Yeah, it's really powerful. We're a little bit afraid people will overuse it, but we're also trying to verify if actually when they do use it, their problem isn't solved, because then their Visual Studio might be in a pretty corrupted state, and that might be interesting, like a different kind of bug we could address.
There's a lot of Zen mode, VS Code.
Oh, Zen mode, yeah.
That might be what it's called.
It's weird. Zen mode for VS Code is actually just full screen, I believe, which was weird.
Autocomplete is very useful. I use control space, control shift space all the time. Just seems like sometimes performance struggles with it. Yeah, so performance with that, it can be very varied. Number of unique types within an application. I know that on the VS for Windows or on the VS for Mac side, performance can be really not as amazing until the type system is loaded in the background and then performance improves. So there's different, different causes of that. I think complexity is probably the one that is the best way to describe it. But again, that's kind of hard to define in a lot of different ways.
Oh, that's right. You are able to scope analysis to only the active file you have open. Sorry, I can share with you the PR, but Visual Studio is being slow in opening. Which is just kind of cool.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, so it's in Tools, Options, Advanced, and you can switch analysis to your background analysis scope to only the active file or only open files and projects instead of the full solution. So that should actually help a ton. Okay, I should be able to find
we could
it.
We could add that to VS Mac.
Gotta get that happening.
Gotta copy and paste that.
Let's see. I will share my screen and see if I can find it.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. I'm going to try to pronounce it. Yeah.
I got it. a background analysis scope. It's right here. So tools, options, C#, advanced, background analysis scope.
Cool.
Pretty cool. So I have it set to only open documents right now.
I think open documents is a fair way to do it.
Yeah. So you might get like less fully informed analyzers and such and renames and all of that, or when you do want to do a rename and it's like used in a bunch of different files, then that might be added into the scope, and then that process might still take a long time, but it'll kind of scale up when it actually gets a signal from the user to scale up.
There's some questions in YouTube about how hard would it be to port VS from Mac to Linux. It's our business developers mostly because we have to pay Windows as well as just I don't. Hard is it's hard to categorize that as like difficulty. We believe that for performance, the best way to build an IDE on a Mac is to use native Mac OS UI toolkits like Cocoa for the editor. So that's kind of where our focus is right now, is ensuring that we can take advantage of the native UI toolkits, and that, of course, divorces it from cross-platform. But I think that there are some suggestions on developer community about VS for Linux. Keep your votes there and your comments there, and those do get reviewed by everybody. So keep an eye out there. That's don't really know all we can say right there, but yeah, that's that's it.
We don't have that power. No. What's the other question I saw? What is C# LSP was asked. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, go ahead.
C# LSP is the language service protocol. It's basically our attempt to, I want to make sure I actually say this right. It's almost like drawing a line in between the computation that we do for the language service and the UI that we then display to communicate that to the user. So LSP is used a lot when we, for example, are using Roslyn in the context of VS Code, because it can run everywhere, but the UI components that need to then display it would be different. Or rather, I guess we use OmniSharp right now to display those UI components. But it is what we would use to take the compiler tooling aspects cross-platform in like VS for Mac. I'm not sure if I answered the question though, so let me know. Is Visual Studio for Linux a possibility in the future? That would be our Visual Studio Code offering on Linux. I think if you want to know what more we would provide in that, I think the question would be how many more features are we going to add to Visual Studio Code from Visual Studio? And I think that's always going to be going up and to the left. I think it's always going to be getting more. It's just a matter of time. But that's kind of my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's trying to find the best way to integrate what we want with every different platform. I think it's not necessarily one size is not going to fit all for each platform, and what works on Mac or works on Linux or works on Windows won't be the same. And so we want to make sure that we go about this in a way that is platform specific and works that platform. So it's kind of where we are there.
We have a couple more questions, but do you have an 11 o'clock?
I do, but
I do too.
Okay.
I could skip it, but
me and John have the same 11 o'clock actually.
Oh, okay. I should let you go. Thank you so much, John, for helping us host.
Thank you, everybody. Hopefully we'll be back in a few weeks in normal mode, but we can probably do this again. Hopefully no technical difficulties next time.
Yeah.
If you have
Kendra can get a beefier laptop, so that won't lag so bad.
This is it.
Optimize it.
Ooh, I see John floating around. If you have any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask or that come out to you, tweet us at Visual Studio for Mac. Sorry, at Visual Studio Mac, at Ken Gottlieb, at
Heap on Twitter.
at CL_buyer, at John Galloway, at Microsoft, any of these, feel free to do it at Visual Studio. Tweet away at us, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Don't touch your nose like I do. All right.
Try not to touch your face as much.
Bye, everybody.
All right, take care. Let's see if John and stream.